What is up? What it do? Welcome into the FFU, the double FU, the FU times two. I am Jeremy Schulman at FF_Rebel. This is Jesse Muller at JMuller05. Today, we are talking Roundtable, going to discuss some trades, going to discuss the Thursday night matchup, going to talk a little bit about everything. Of course, we welcome in all of your questions and we can talk a little bit about that as well. But first, Jesse, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. It is Saturday morning. My wife and daughter are watching some show, so all is quiet on the Western Front, as they say. And yeah, we are getting ready to kind of finalize rankings, updating stuff. Just moved Dare Ogunbowale way up on rankings, and that's something we talk about a little bit later. I know it's super exciting stuff, right?
Yep.
But no, just get ready for tomorrow. I'm excited to see some of these games, and yeah, try to win week 5 like I've been doing all the other weeks.
That's it, man. It's been a wild month of the season. I'm on the other end of that spectrum. I have Cam Akers uncomfortably high this weekend. So we'll have to see who wins out. But good God, could it get any crazier after 4 weeks? What we thought we knew is what we have no clue about. So we'll just have to figure it out. But first, let's talk a little bit about this Thursday night matchup. So we'll jump into it real quick. Jesse, we'll have your thoughts in just a second. First, it was the Falcons 36 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who put up 30. We had Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield on only 180 yards passing go off. We had what seemed like every fantasy viable player not named Chris Godwin go crazy in this one. I don't know what your takeaways are initially here. Probably the crazy output from all the Falcons, probably the ridiculous non-output from most of the Bucs, but still scoring some points. What are we thinking here? Falcons now contender all of a sudden.
Yeah, that kind of saved their season, right? Because if the Bucks win that game, they go to 4-1, and no one's really catching them at that division.
Yeah.
Just not going to work out. Like the Saints are kind of struggling a little bit lately, so the Falcons desperately needed that win. And interestingly enough, like the difference in plays ran between the two teams. The Buccaneers were super efficient. Like Baker was lights out in the limited touches he had. The Falcons had these long drives, and that took up a lot of clock. And they did that throughout the game. And you look at like the plays ran, it was basically 87 for one team and for the Bucks, and 53 for the Bucks. So yeah, it's just like it's one of how those games they work out where one team just can't figure it out. They just put up a ton of yards. We saw that with the Falcons. I will say the Bucks deserve that loss because they had a chance to put the game away, and they decided to just basically run some terrible plays and punt it and give the Buccaneers a chance to win. And I was like, I watched that happen, and I was like, man, what are you doing? Like, you have a chance to put this division away. Like, you should be going for that. So yeah, that's kind of the old coaching strategy where it's like, play not to lose, and it kind of cost them. But overall, it was a fun game. What did you take away from that game?
Yeah, I unfortunately buried the lead on this one because Bijan Robinson is the talk of the fantasy community. What the hell do we do with him? He is being Arthur Smith when Arthur Smith is no longer even a part of the organization. So it's really concerning the lack of output that Bijan has had for fantasy. He's still very much a key part of what Atlanta is doing on offense. Unfortunately, mostly it's in pass blocking, protecting Kirk Cousins' immobile ass. But yeah, it's really, really concerning what we're seeing from Bijan. So let's talk about that for a second. Do you have any hopes for Bijan this season and then going forward in Dynasty at his current value? Or do you think it's time to sell and get out and get what you can?
If you can get the price of where he was going. So earlier this week, I did a show on Tuesday where he was the 12th overall player in Superflex drafts, like on Keep Trade Cut. And I'm like, why is he the consensus RB1? Like, it just didn't make any sense. Like, he's above everyone else, like a significant amount. And I was like, why is he above Brees? Like, you could make the case with all these old running backs, like Kamara and those guys. The advantage they're giving you over Bijan is out of control. Because, like, points per game wise, it's basically beat him by something like 15 points per game. It's absurd. So, I think we need to have a conversation about these young running backs if they do not produce. But overall, I'm still not super worried about Bijan. The one thing that did upset me was watching the overtime game. The first drive, they went to Tyler Algier. By the way, he had 6 carries for 12 yards in this game. He was not efficient at all. And the drive just was a disaster. So it's like, I just don't know what they're doing, man. It's a little bit concerning. He's in that top tier for me. Like, he's just such a good talent. You kind of want to trust the process it's going to work out. But it's really hard to rank him inside the top running backs each and every week. It's like for me personally, is that where you're at with him, or are you kind of a little bit more bullish on Bijan?
Yeah, I'm still rolling with him, unfortunately. For example, this week he's my RB8, or it was my RB8. Next week we'll have to see. I'm not quite up on who the Falcons are playing, but if he's in a decent matchup, I'm going to roll him out again. I do not expect what was it like damn near 90 plays that the Falcons ran in this. Not expect that to be the case every week. Certainly, their defense is bad enough to allow it. I just don't see the offense kind of rolling that way. They'll be probably a little more methodical. They won't be playing catch up. Kirk Cousins will not throw the ball 58 times for 509 yards. I mean, that's ridiculous. But the concerning part for me is that Bijan, you would expect him to be viable in catch-up mode, even more so because we want those targets to running backs. Only 3 targets in this one. Watching Kirk Cousins in this game, he was not checking it down at all. He was constantly, consistently pushing the ball downfield. We saw it early with Pitts. We saw it later on with Drake London and Mooney. We saw it at the end with Cardero Hodge, who bailed this team out. I mean, it's just, I don't know what Kirk Cousins was doing, if that was part of the game plan to attack a weak interior defense in Tampa, who's lost a bunch of guys there in the linebacking core and secondary due to injury, or if that's simply kind of the way that Kirk chooses and prefers to play in this system with these weapons. So that was a huge concern with me with Bijan. I don't know. He should be checking down to Bijan more. He's not. They're not running super amount of design screens. I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, he was injured, like had an injury tag earlier in the week. He had a hamstring, so you could talk yourself into the injury playing some of that. And the way they used him, it makes a little bit of sense. But you would think the fact they ran 87 plays compared to the Buccaneers ran like 53. The difference is like if you're running 87 plays and you're the RB1 on that offense, like dude, there's a ton of plays for scoring, and it just didn't work out for him this game. So I think they did not give him the full workload. Like he had 58 snaps. Tyler Algier had 31. The routes ran, it was 2-1, 32-17. Like the usage is good. It's just not, peak CMC or, these Kamara guys, what we're looking for, right? So it is a little bit concerning. And I guess we could pivot into the other guy that is like the talk of the fantasy community because he finally did something good. It is Kyle Pitts, the tight end there. What are your takeaways with Kyle Pitts? Are you changing anything of him, or is it more of the same with Kyle Pitts?
I have 2, possibly 3 Kyle Pitts shares. I played them all. This week, I didn't really have a better option, right? If I had like a, someone that wasn't Tyler Conklin and like Elijah Higgins, or Isaiah Likely even, I probably would have played certainly would have played a Jake Ferguson, certainly would have played that's kind of not in the same tier. I'm trying to think I would have waited on a Evan Ingram or Njoku and see what happened with them. I would have, probably played a Dallas Goedert, for example, even though he's off. I can't think of a good example at the moment, but the thing is like we were all saying sit Pitts. We had no confidence in him. He came out and absolutely dominated. I think he had 8 targets, which is good for Pitts, but in 58, attempts, that's kind of a little bit concerning. I'm not sure what the percentage target share is, but it's probably about where he's been all season. So, 7 receptions is nice. 88 yards is nice. Is it repeatable? I don't know. The one silver lining I'll say with Pitts is that twice in the first quarter, I think he got over 40 yards with 2 receptions in the first quarter. And again, Kirk was driving it down the seam to Pitts. So that was at least something to hang your hat on, but I'm still concerned. How about you?
Yeah, his receiving yards total line for the game was 28.5. So that 130+ yard catch, he beat it on that.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, yeah, his target rate. So like for those who want to know what target rate is basically your targets per routes run. It was 16% on the year. This game was 14%. So he was targeted at a less rate. I mean, it just seems like he's significantly boosted up. The way I look at it is Mooney was more involved. Freaking obviously Drake London was more involved. Larry McLeod was more involved. So it's like, and even when Drake London left a little bit, like Mooney and McLeod like did not leave the field. Like they've had the most snaps of anybody, 85 apiece. So they only missed 2 snaps. So those guys are clearly important to the Falcons, what they want to do when they're playing in catch-up mode, kind of like this, right? You would expect Pitts to be more involved, but it was fine. Like I think we just need to check our expectations for Pitts. He's like kind of a touchdown dependent tight end where he'll do a little bit for you, and I don't think this is just something we can really take away and put our hat on just because it's a little bit concerning, man. If you're like you're coming out the field a little bit more, and you're not getting the targets. It's really hard to make it work. You have to be hyper efficient.
Yeah, and I've been a Darnell Mooney fan. So Sean, we'll get right to you. Give us 2 minutes here to wrap this game up, and then we'll jump right into your question. I've been a Darnell Mooney fan for since the time he cooked. Who's the guy who's now? I keep forgetting his name because who cares? The Miami Dolphins main cornerback when he was on the Rams.
Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, Ramsey. When he cooked Ramsey, a couple years ago on the Bears, been a huge Darnell Mooney fan. Forgot how good he was because of Justin Fields and whatever the hell was going on there in Chicago. He left that situation, has a competent quarterback, and all of a sudden he's Jordan Addison, 9 for 105 and 2. And I think we can expect this similar production. So not to spend too much time on Mooney, but are you in or are you out?
On Pitts? Yeah, I would.
Mooney.
Oh, yeah. I was hyping up Mooney. I've been hyping up Mooney the entire time. He's the wide receiver, too, in the Kirk Cousins offense. Like, that's entirely efficient. We can go back the years with Thielen and those guys and even Diggs before that. And you go back and you see this. And to your point, Jordan Addison, yeah. I much prefer starting Mooney over Kyle Pitts. That's just how I'm going to treat it until we get a change situationally. Mooney's going to be the guy I trust.
Agree. One more point here on this game. We'll put a bow on it, and then we'll hit up your questions. On the Buccaneers side, because we haven't talked too much about it, I think we agree that Baker has been fantastic, highly efficient in this game, and definitely fantasy viable. We certainly have questions about the running backs here, but we saw the split, almost a perfectly even split again with Rachaad White breaking off a big run, which leads to him having the better day here. My question is, Baker only threw the ball 24 times in a game that this team probably should have won, if not for kind of the comeback effort by Atlanta. Do we think that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans can be fantasy viable together if the Bucs are going to run the ball this much, because now they feel like they have two competent running backs?
Yes, because they're really the only two pass catchers in that offense. I know we had Cade Otton above Kyle Pitts this week in rankings, or at least I did. But overall, he's not really somebody you can count on. He falls in that Pitts range. But yeah, those two guys are two of the best wide receivers in the NFL. The targets rates and everything is hyper concentrated around those guys. So and to your point, particularly with kind of the running back issues and it not being the Rachaad White show, I think it just boosts those guys up a bit even more. So we saw wasn't the best game for those guys. Obviously, Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns, so he went off. But Godwin was fine in his role. It didn't work out, but I wouldn't be too worried about Chris Godwin. He still gave you 10 plus double-digit fantasy points of PPR. That's fine. You live with it. Maybe he's not the wide receiver 1 overall, but he's fine.
Yeah, and Sterling Shepard really won't get any starts if other guys are healthy. But one thing I will say about that is Baker put a dime on him on the move. Beyond 2 outstretched fingertips for defenders. That was a hell of a throw. So Baker gets all the credit in that one. All right, guys, we're going to move on here, and we have a bunch of your questions already, so we appreciate it. Keep them coming. We're going to run through these, and then I think probably at the end, we'll get into some of our recent Dynasty trades and talk about those. Here's the first one. Do you want Michael Pittman or Dontavian Wicks? Let's first, Jesse, approach this from this week, and then let's talk rest of season and or Dynasty. What are you thinking this week? I'm going to assume Flacco here. Pittman or Wicks?
Yeah, that's the big question mark. If Flacco is the quarterback, I'm fine firing up Pittman. If it is Anthony Richardson, I am going to Dontavian Wicks. I have Dontavian Wicks uncomfortably high. He's pushing in my top 20 wide receivers this week. So is Michael Pittman. I think they're both very good starts this week. So ideally, I want both these guys in my lineup. If Flacco's playing, that's the biggest question mark. So keep you have to check this out and watch it until tomorrow. But if you're worried about Anthony Richardson playing, just play Wicks. Is the way I would just do it. So if you're not sure how to go about doing it.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I'm trying to, of course, my rankings completely log me out, so I cannot find them quickly. But as I fill unsuccessfully, yes, I totally agree with you. Pittman, if Flacco is in, which I'm assuming is going to be the case. Wicks, if Richardson plays, because that makes Pittman completely unviable. Right now, I have Wicks at 25. I will consider moving him up. I just can't move Tyreek Hill that much further down. I have Pittman at 30. That's going to change, I think, if this changes. But also Josh Downs. I'm super high on Josh Downs this week. I remember just moving him up. I can't find him. So that's another question. Do you prefer Pittman or Downs? this
Pittman.
week if Flacco plays.
If it's Flacco, if it's Richardson, I'm just gonna kind of just pivot away from both of these guys, how the offense goes. But yeah, similar to the Green Bay Packers, like those two wide receivers where it's Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks. I'll have very much confidence in Michael Pittman and Josh Downs because Josh Downs is a very good NFL slot wide receiver. That's kind of the thing. I know we like Eddie Mitchell, but Josh Downs is clearly a guy that they trust, as we've seen last year and this year as well. He's basically just been alongside right with Pittman, a very fancy, viable wide receiver.
Last one, because we love to talk dynasty here. Let's just consider dynasty value at the moment with the news that Romeo Doubs is not happy and he's probably going to be benched this week for personal reasons, mostly because he didn't show up to practice because he's not happy. Do you like Pittman or do you like Wicks? The Devontae Adams light, according to
Wicks is really interesting. I think Wicks is the upside shot. And it's why the Dynasty, like the fantasy football community's gone bananas for him because it's target, right? Everything on a small sample size looks awesome. And he looks like a good NFL wide receiver. So I'll still take Pittman just because I know what I'm getting in Dynasty. But Wicks is closing that gap quickly. So if you want to take the upside shot where you do Wicks plus something to get trade Pittman away, I'm fine doing that. It's just because we know Anthony Richardson's coming back at some point, and it knocks Pittman's ceiling and floor down. So yeah, I'm fine doing that. Where are you at between these two?
Yeah, I still have Pittman above, but I'm so insanely high on Dontavian Wicks. Yeah, I think it would really just take another breakout performance this week, and I would probably put him over Pittman.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's way closer than we thought it would be. Let's move on to the next one. This is from Pareco. Pareco, that sounds about right. Would you trade Garrett Wilson for Rashid Shaheed and Jerry Jeudy if it meant getting Breece? So it sounds like Wilson for Shaheed, Jeudy, and Breece.
Seems like a lot.
Yes. I'd have Kyle, Breece, and Brooks. JJ's my wide receiver one with Deontay, Waddle, and Dell on the bench. I think this might be worded a little differently. Wilson, Stafford, Jacobs for... Okay, so here's the deal. Wilson, Stafford, and Jacobs for Breece, Shaheed, and Jerry Jeudy. Are you doing this in a Superflex league?
What was your other... With Mahomes, Anthony Richardson as your quarterbacks now? I don't know how I feel about this, just because... I mean, I guess you have those guys you can give away. It really comes out how you feel about Anthony Richardson, I guess. That would be my biggest concern, right? If you're worried about AR and you want to keep one of those quarterbacks, it's fine. I don't mind getting the upside. The confusing thing is, I'm throwing it up. It's Garrett Wilson. I was mixing up with Russell Wilson. That's my mistake. So
Russ,
I prefer the Wilson Jacobs side slightly, just because I like Breece. I don't count on Jeudy. I like Shaheed as well, but he's in that replaceable wide receiver range. So personally, I still like the Wilson Jacobs and Stafford side. Where are you at?
Yeah, this is tough because Wilson and Breece are both mega buy lows right now. That team is going to compete, but you have to wait till week 9. It's weeks 9, 10, and 11. And then I believe 14, 15, and 16 with a buy in between. Just based on matchups, they're phenomenal. So there's 6 out of the last 8 games for the Jets are awesome for both Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. I think you can rely on them. Now, if you need wins, you should probably pivot off of them. Other than Minnesota for Garrett Wilson this week, it looks a little difficult for the next month. That said, I mean, I don't really care between Wilson or Breece. I think you just pick one depending on your needs. Pareco's needs here look to be more running back based than they are wide receiver based, given who he's got on his bench. So I don't really mind it. I don't rate Stafford with the other 2 guys you have, and Jacobs is fine. But Breece and Shaheed with Jeudy, the potential that Amari leaves, I don't hate this deal.
It's redraft, though.
Yeah. No, with the potential that Amari leaves this year. I mean, there's smoke there, right? So look, I don't know. Jesse, you say no. I'll side with you, Jesse, because Breece and Wilson to me cancel each other out. I will side with you. Keep Stafford and figure it out later.
Yeah. It's fine. If I'm setting these up 1-for-1 Wilson or Breece, I much prefer Breece because it's impact running back as opposed to Wilson. That's just the difference. But yeah, it's fine on the way.
Fair. Godwin and ETN for Marv.
I want to say yes on this. The Cardinals offense has been on the struggle bus and has not figured it out one thing that is coming together looks like Marvin Harrison. I think the upside of Harrison is going to be a higher floor weekly than Chris Godwin and higher ceiling. So I'm fine with this just because I'm out on ETN. Are you doing the 2-for-1 deal or are you keeping the package side?
I'll do it. After San Francisco, it's Green Bay, the Chargers, not great, but then you get Miami, Chicago, not great, Jets. So you really only have one smash matchup in the next 6 weeks and then a bye. That's kind of tough. They need to figure it out. We know Marvin Harrison's getting the targets 8, 11, and 6 after the weird week 1. And he's going to produce for you. Wide receiver 1, 20, and 26. So, yeah, better days are to come. ETN, I don't rate. Godwin had a down week. He'll be there for you still. I'll take the upside shot on Marvin. Flex. Who we flexing, I assume, this week? Is it Wan'Dale, Tracy, Downs, or Waddle?
If Downs is getting Joe Flacco, I'm going to play Downs. But yeah, I still have Wan'Dale above Tyrone Tracy, but like I don't mind Tyrone Tracy in this matchup. It really depends on what, like, on the flip side of the Seahawks defense and how many guys are going to be out for the Seahawks defense. They're already missing a few of their guys. I'm curious to see if the rest of them, if Mafe plays. I know I'm blanking on the D tackle's name. I know I'm blanking on the name, so excuse me.
Reed?
No, the guy that traded for the Giants last year. That they traded to
Tomlinson.
No, it'll come to me. It's sorry. This is we're styling, but yeah. So it depends on that. I think Wan'Dale and Downs are the much safer plays. I'm not playing Waddle. I'm just not doing it. I don't want to do that ancillary option in a game script that's like 36 projected points this week. It is abysmal. I don't think most teams are going to be able to do much. And until we see more, it's really hard to start Waddle. So I would have it with Flacco. I would say Downs, Wan'Dale, Tyrone Tracy, and that would be my final answer. If it also depends on scoring format. If it's the half PPR, then I'm not doing the scam artist and Wan'Dale. I'll have Tyrone Tracy. But where are you at with these guys?
Leonard Williams.
Yes, there we go. There we go. Yeah, he's out.
I agree with you with Josh Downs. I think that the Giants this week are a trap. Wan'Dale has been great because Malik Neighbors is out of this world. Without Malik Neighbors to take away coverage, Wan'Dale will be the focus of defenses. I don't love that. He's still going to get peppered with targets, so I don't hate it. He's still the PPR machine. I just don't think he's going off in this one. Waddle, you can't play right now without Tua, so it's Downs for me. And then if you get Anthony Richardson, it's going to be a conversation between Downs and Wan'Dale. I don't want anything to do with Tracy this week. I just think it's a big old trap, even against a tough Seattle D. Kyler or Justin Fields, that is for this week. So let's start there. Who do you like?
We're going Justin Fields.
Yep.
Yeah, you get the Cowboys defense, and the Cowboys defense is just hashtag not good at football. Kyler Murray against the San Francisco 49ers. And he's been very outside of his week 2 performance. He's averaged 13 points per game for Kyler Murray. That is a conversation where it's like, it's not clicking for this offense. And maybe it's the part of the Drew Petzing issue where they're not giving him the easy button and connecting. It's really, just looking for Marvin Harrison. Nothing else is working. Him getting back the difference making tight end is massive for him this week with Trey McBride. So I think it helps them a lot. But like when you're playing against the Cowboys defense or you're playing against the 49ers defense, it's just a different issue. And the Cowboys route multiple guys through their impact players. So yeah, I have Fields as top 5 option this week. Like I'm all above Justin Fields. I have Kyler Murray as like quarterback 10. So yeah. And then the flex, you could do the Javonte thing, but man, that game is just looking like it's going to be another ugly thing. I would say if you think Javonte is going to get a touchdown, play Javonte. I am fine going with Josh Downs. Now, like we talked about earlier, if Flacco is the quarterback, I'll just play Downs. If it's Richardson, I'm gonna play Javonte.
Yep. I feel exactly the same way about the flex and exactly the same way about the QBs. Fields is my QB 6, Kyler my QB 11, so I'm right there with you. But Fields by a lot. And look, Kyler Murray, you mentioned week 2, he played the Rams defense. That's who you want to fire up quarterbacks against. You know who else you want to fire up quarterbacks against? It's the Dallas Cowboys defense. Fields gets them this week. He is going to go nuts on them as much as Fields can. I would expect close to a repeat performance to what he did last week, just because he's playing a very, very bad D.
Yeah.
Romeo Dobbs, he doesn't practice. He doesn't like his role. He's a crybaby. We talked about this. Wicks, we're all aboard Wicks this season. Anything to add on Wicks, Jesse?
Yeah, it seems like a very bad business decision to basically be like, hey, my role sucks. I'm going to leave when you have other really good wide receivers in front of you. Like, I thought he'd be fine there, but yeah, clearly the role's changing. They like what they see, so this was the issue. So yeah, Dubs. I'm just gonna say like Dubs is basically droppable. Like if you're running into issues like this, like I don't know how you couldn't really play him as it is. So if you had him in redraft, like you just move on.
If you are the Raiders GM and I am the Packers GM, are you giving me Adams for Dobbs straight up?
No. Because Devontae Adams is still a very good wide receiver. And Dubs is a guy who runs route kind of as a sacrificial X. So personally, no, I'm not doing that. I don't know why the Raiders would do that unless they're just trying to just shed Adams completely. I'd be like, just send me a second round pick. Give me something of value. Like when you have a guy that's having these issues and that's not a superstar, like it's really hard to talk yourself into this type of player. Be like, oh, so he's unhappy with his role. He's just going to leave and he's not going to come back. Like that doesn't seem like a team player. And with Antonio Pierce and all the issues he's having there, just feels like more of a problem in Las Vegas because, I mean, he's not taking over for Jacoby Myers, and then they have Trey Tucker who's more of a slot, so he'd play alongside him. But yeah, like Brock Bowers is there, like it'd be a tough path for Romeo Dobbs to be fancy real quick.
On that note, Dobbs is now skipped Thursday and Friday practices.
Yeah, he's
so that's 2 practices, not 1. No, he's definitely not playing. He might not be playing for Green Bay ever again. We'll find out. On that note, do you start Wicks or Wan'Dale or JSN? Who do you like?
Wicks. You're getting the Rams defense, like you just fire them up. Like the matchup is so freaking juicy. The Rams are abysmal defense. On the flip side with JSN, I wonder how much they're going to be involved using him. I like Geno a lot this week, but this is one of those games where the Seahawks are basically 7-point favorites. It could get out of hand in the second half where it turns into the Ken Walker show. So I'm a little bit worried about JSN this week. And like, honestly, between JSN and Wan'Dale, I think this is a conversation. But I have them in this order of my rankings where it's Wicks, Wan'Dale, JSN. That's how I have them listed.
Yeah, I had them Wan'Dale, JSN, and then Wicks. I just moved Wicks above him because I totally agree with you. They're 19, 20, and 21 in my rank. So I love that. Let's move on as we welcome in SC. We'll talk about this in a second. First, let's talk about SC. How you doing, man?
Doing good, bro. Sorry I'm late. We had a late Debbie game day preview, but glad to be on the roundtable with my fellow Knights again, Sir Jesse and Sir Jeremy here. Nice. But yeah, man, excited to talk some football because I know there's some interesting things going around the league. So let's get into it.
Well, aren't you lucky that you jumped in at this time and you get to first answer the question about can you start Rhamondre this week, given the news that Antonio Gibson is going to be the starter?
Oh man, I was to be honest, I get Rhamondre, you want to have him there, but the offense, I don't even know if I want Gibson in there just because I'm not a fan of the offense right now, right? So I mean, Rhamondre is there. He was a sell for me going into the season because I knew that was it. Gibson's something nice. I'm glad to see him get the work there, because I think he is someone that, if his talents are used correctly, he could be a great asset for your fantasy teams. Question: can you start him? Nah, I'm not. It's always tough. You started him last year because you knew he got the work, but it looks like they're going back to like this committee approach, and it's just like, I don't want to necessarily do that. So I need to see how it plays out. I don't want to start any of them really because I want to see what's going to play out and what the share is going to look like, and if it's somewhere close or if it's Gibson's getting fully workload, or maybe Gibson starts, but then they're like, nah, really it's Rhamondre, like he's just still getting majority of the carry. So I'm just out on the backfield in general.
Yeah,
so I agree with this point, but Jesse, before you weigh in, I just want to add the fact that Miami seems to be shaping up as a ridiculous run funnel defense. You're still not starting these guys?
I mean, I'm trying not to. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So if Gibson starts the game out strong and plays well, he's not going to come off the field. Like that's the thing. Like I think they're very much going to ride the hot hand approach with this. So I very much don't want to touch Rhamondre. He terrifies me. Gibson, I've have him as a top 30 running back, but like to your point, like he could get replaced because he's Antonio flipping Gibson, and he is not a sound running back, and he makes a lot of mistakes, and it has the highest rate of fumbles of any running back in the league per carry. So FYI, these are 2 of the highest fumble carry running backs in the league. So I don't know what they're doing in New England. It just seems like it's like you're punishing for turnovers. I get it, but like another guy that's turned it over throughout his entire career. So it's like, I don't know, man. There's going to be a lot of mistakes. So I guess I would lean freaking Gibson over Rhamondre, but I don't want to play the running back this week.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you both. But that problem is Miami's giving up. They're 30 out of 32, so very stingy against quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends for fantasy points. They're giving up the fourth most fantasy points to running backs. Crazy run funnel, but this Patriots offense sucks. So I agree. I don't think he's startable at all, unfortunately. Moving on, in one of my redraft leagues, I offered to trade away Pittman for Wicks, and the offer was rejected. That's where we are right now. Yeah, you cannot get Wicks at the moment. He's far too high. Pittman far too low, even coming off of a good game. It's just the way it is.
On the flip side of that, I feel you can't move Pittman right now. I don't think anyone wants him.
100%.
Like you have to get, I don't even think you get Jacoby Myers for Pittman right now. Just that's how bad, it's just the offense. But I will say now is the time to sell him with Flacco as the potential quarterback, right? We know A-Rich is high with his cannon arm, stuff like that. But with Flacco as a quarterback, he's going to feed the wide receivers. I traded a second for Josh Downs. I really love that. This is something where I think it's good because you can. This is your time to sell. If you're trying to get rid of Pittman, watch this game, let him ball out, and then go sell him because it's not going to happen forever.
Yeah, and also he's Richardson's a game time decision, so Anthony Richardson still might be the starting quarterback. So this is going to be one you're not going to know until right up into it. So if you have Pittman, you have to pay attention. If you want to pivot off Pittman, like I totally just get it. Like you can just pivot off Pittman this week.
Yeah, you probably should, unfortunately.
Mahomes.
Richardson or Mahomes if Richardson plays?
Richardson. Mahomes has been ass this year. Mahomes has been ass for fantasy. Like he's been so bad. But like the thing is with Mahomes is he's still a good like it's not like he's a bad quarterback or anything. It's just the offense has just been dysfunctional. I have them back to back in my rankings. Like I will ride the Richardson every time if he's gonna play. Like it's just the upside's there. With Mahomes, I'm questioning where the upside is coming from. That's my biggest concern with Mahomes. He's 12, Richardson's 11. Like Richardson's obviously struggled. He's dealing with injuries, but yeah, I don't mind it if you want to go Mahomes, but I have Richardson one spot above him.
It is against the Saints, so
yeah. That's what I was going to add there is that the matchups is Mahomes against the Saints. So you worry about that with no weapons, Anthony Richardson at least could run his way, but yeah, it's a toss up for sure. Different podcast from Mad Scientist. You trade away the Stafford side. Oh, that's a different one because you could afford to trade away the extra quarterback. Yeah, I hear you. You get Brees in return. We talked about that earlier. That one is more of a toss-up to me. Let's move on. Yeah, we talked about A-Rich. Anything else to add? Just rest of season here. Let's assume he plays most, if not all of the games. He does what we expect him to do. Are we happy, sad, right where we expected to be with A-Rich? What do you think?
I'm looking to buy Anthony Richardson at this point because he's so depressed in value. When he's on the field, he's going to produce fantasy points. I know it's been really awful, and you're going to have to ride this roller coaster similar to Josh Allen's rookie season. It's just very up or down. But the points were still there. Allen was still giving you 17, 18 fantasy points a game. So, like, I get it. It's just been rough. The injuries, everything's kind of working against him. Just give it time. He'll figure it out. And if he figures it out, the accuracy, like, he could be a true difference-making quarterback this year. So, I'm fine taking a shot on Richardson, particularly in redraft because it's only 1 year, right? It's not going to kill you.
Yep.
So Dynasty though, what were you giving up for him? Like, are you still giving up a first, or are you trying to buy low on a couple seconds?
Yeah, the players he's listed around, I would trade all those like wide receivers, like Jaden Reed, Roma Dunze. I would trade him for Anthony Richardson. There's a lot of very good players he's listed around in Dynasty that are like really good difference-making players. But if it's super flex, man, and you get the upside for Richardson, like I struggle with these super flex rushing quarterbacks. Like I just chase it all the time. So the upside of Richardson, I'm fine buying into because going into the year, he was like a top 8 pick. It's super flex draft. So, yeah, I get it. I get if people are worried, but for me, like I chase ceiling, and nobody has a higher chance of like shooting the moon than Anthony Richardson. Like he just has to play, and
for sure,
I'm on board with it. I don't mind buying low on him personally, but I 100% understand the concern.
SC, what are you thinking here with A-Rich? Are you looking to get out? You're going to hold and wait it out? What do you think?
I mean, if you can get first for him still, I would. I mean, because I think you can, find different talent, or you can move that first for something else, right? Right now, I think if you can go get Baker, I'm not mad at that. If you could get Baker for, if you can get something plus Baker for Anthony Richardson because the upside is there, I'm not mad at that, right? Because I think Richardson holds more value than Baker because of his rushing upside and because of what we want it to be. it hasn't been what we want it to be. But I think that's something there where you can sell on that hype, right? This is one of those players where it's like he has the hype around him, so that's where you're selling. You're not obviously not selling the season because it hasn't been a top 5 season in what we want, but you're selling the hype around him. And if you get something out of it, go ahead and cash out of it because why not, right? So I would agree with that part. But if you're not getting something valuable, like I'm not necessarily trading him for 2-2, so he's definitely just a hold at that point as well.
Yeah. And I've talked about this before with value. Where I want to take risks in Dynasty personally is on value. I will risk the value of an Anthony Richardson now versus, and that it will go down by holding him and holding out hope that it will go up. But I hear you. You can't begrudge anyone trying to get out. Garrett Wilson, are you taking Garrett Wilson for this package?
Hell
Or are you
yes.
keeping the package?
Hell yeah.
You're taking the package or are you taking Wilson?
No, I'm taking he traded Garrett. Yeah, I'm taking the package. Hell yeah for that.
Yeah, Kelsey looks like tight end 1 possibly rest of the season without Rashee Rice. Brian Thomas, we all love Brian Thomas. We think he's awesome. He's up to, and like Higgins is a good NFL wide receiver. So yeah, I'm fine with this package.
Yep.
It is Garrett. The question is, I know, value wise, like preseason, we're probably ranking Garrett Wilson as top 10, top 15. But really, is he just a glorified, top 30 wide receiver? Like, is he really in the top 15 rate? Because I feel he's nice. He has the skills. Maybe he hasn't had the quarterback to do what we want him to do. But at the same time, it's like you have a lot of receivers where, we rank them as like a top 10, top 15. But in reality, they never finish inside the top 20, and I think Garrett Wilson's somewhere along that line. So that's where I'm going with this package. We see Thomas is the one. We know Higgins is possibly traded next year where he can possibly be the one. And Kelsey, I mean, if you need a tight end, I think that's great value for it.
Yeah. The problem with asking this question is you asked 2 Brian Thomas truthers and a convert right here after the first month of the season. So yeah, we all take the package, but Garrett Wilson still holding that value is nice, at least for now. Yep, we're good. Do we like James Conner or Brian Robinson? Assuming Robinson plays, I think the assumption is he'll be out at the moment. Let's pretend he plays. Conner or Robinson this week?
Be Robinson. Conner's against 49ers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think like
they're just the Browns though.
Yeah, he's going to be I think he's a little bit limited this week. So that's what concerns me about Brian Robinson. I would have him with James Conner because he's been awesome. His role's been great. But Eckler comes back this week. So I think they could lean on Eckler a little bit more. Or I know Jeremy was talking about Mr. McNichols earlier last week where, he did a fun thing. So I think they could split it up a little bit. But yeah, if Brian Robinson's healthy and he plays, like I would play Brian Robinson over James Conner.
Yeah.
We don't know, man.
I still have Conner 1 spot over Brian Robinson because they're both tough matchups. Cleveland is easier, but you have been able to run on San Francisco this year, surprisingly. I do think it's a toss-up, but I'll go James Conner.
Yeah, it's just safe this week.
Before we go into this next comment here, I just want to shout out Shaka. Shout out Land of the Lost, man. I love that little YouTube name there. It's a great movie. Love it.
Nice. Let's try and keep our comments limited here because we have a lot to get through. Any interesting pickups or holds for playoff weeks? I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's Garrett Wilson. I don't mind Brees either. Either of those guys you can go out and trade for. 14, 15, and 16. I can't remember what it is, but I think it's Buffalo week 17. So not great in championship week, but he'll get you there on the matchups. 6 out of his last 8 matchups are phenomenal. I'll go Wilson over Brees, but I don't mind either trading for those guys. You guys have anybody right now in your playoff weeks that you like a lot?
I like Darnell Mooney. I've liked him the entire time. I think he's a very cheap asset to get because people don't respect Darnell Mooney. They don't think he's that good. I think he could be very fancy viable for he's a wide receiver 2 at best case scenario, more likely wide receiver flex for you. Like I think he's fancy viable, so I'm fine with rolling him. And then honestly, just stash backup running backs in good teams because if an injury happens, that's the best way you get the upside boom boost. So a Blake Corum, those types of players, right, where they're not doing anything for you, chilling. If an injury happens to Kyron, the value skyrockets. So those type of guys I'm targeting.
Yeah, I agree with those. A big one for me is possibly Trey McBride. I know that's going to be heavy value there for him, but I mean, his playoff weeks, you talk about Seattle, New England, and Carolina. So those are big for him there. Not Carolina or Seattle, that's 14, but Carolina, then the Rams. So I just think that's huge value for him. And I know he's worth a lot, but that's a tight end where it's if you could go there and grab him, go ahead and get him, as well. one of the tight ends I think, because he had an injury, maybe people are sleeping on him there as well. Tank Dell too. I know Tank Dell has the week 14 bye week, but then going in, he's slipping, but we know CJ Stroud still likes him. We know Diggs and Nico are there, but I know they want to get him the ball, right? So you're gonna have those, and those playoff weeks could end up be the big weeks where he ends up putting 20 points because we know he can pull up 100 yards off 7 receptions, off 5 receptions. So he's on the target.
Yeah, love that. Tank in week 15 gets Miami, week 16 gets Kansas City, week 17 Baltimore. So a pretty nice schedule for him as well. Aaron putting in work, even if he's not joining us. Please remember to join us. That's me and Aaron, because these guys will be sleeping on the West Coast. Some much well-deserved rest. But join me and Aaron tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern. We're going to go live. We'll talk about start sits right before your London game. If you do not remember, we have our first London game this week. So please make sure to set your lineups accordingly. Take all those guys out of your flex as well to provide extra lineup flexibility. So Chaka, he was mentioning he's trying to upgrade at RB. Here's his wide receivers. I'm not going to read them. There's his running backs. You can see them there. Who would you try to package out of this group? Let's talk one wide receiver and one running back who you would package to kind of tier up in the running back department.
Package Devonta Smith or T. Higgins. Pick whichever one you want. I don't really care. Pick a running back like Zach Moss, like if Kareem Hunt, and aim for an RB1 because your running back room is significantly worse than your wide receiver room. Like you could take hits in the wide receiver room. Outside of Kamara, this running back room is #not great. So I would look into getting into if you want the short run, Jordan Mason. If you want someone long term, I know it's impossible to get Kamara, but the true guys like Kyron Williams, try to make a value move where you get into the elite of the elite running backs. And just make it happen because I think that helps you out a lot.
Man, with the way Moss is balling, I think you could try the in Cup. They go their bye week next week, I do believe. So he has that extra week off, and then he possibly could come back in week 7. So if you can do Cup and Moss for Josh Jacobs, I would be all over that. I know Spitty, like you said, and Higgins, but those are valuable assets where it's you could definitely tier up. Maybe if you do Smith and maybe Moss for maybe Barkley. I don't know if you'll be able to do that just because Barkley's balling out. But I think Josh Jacobs is an underrated back right now because he's not there, but he is the running back in Green Bay. They're gonna continue to feed him. His efficiency is gonna get better as he goes on with the season, and especially because you have Chase Brown, Zach Moss will be the main one I'm trying to move out of there. Even if you compare both of them if you want to, but keep one if you want, and I would try to do that. Kareem Hunt too, because we know Kareem Hunt's looking nice. So, he's one of the sell highs for you right now. Braylon Allen you want to keep because we don't know. He looks good with, Breece Hall on the field. And imagine Breece Hall's gone. Braylon Allen's the guy. So,
yep. I like those takes. The guy I'm trying to go after is Kenneth Walker. It's probably impossible for all of these guys, right? But maybe a Devonta Smith and a Braylon Allen. And maybe you can do Smith, T, and Braylon Allen for Kenneth Walker if the Walker manager has a deep RB room. I don't know. The other thing that you might consider is Devon Achane. Go after him. His value is incredibly low right now. If you can sustain for a couple of weeks, I think he's going to bounce back nicely. And then a third guy I would go after. I know it's not the prettiest, but right now the value is too good on Rico Dowdle. He still hasn't really done it. People don't believe it. This Dallas offense is not good, but Rico Dowdle is getting receptions out of the backfield. He is the number one. Zeke Elliott more and more is kind of just being phased out of this offense. He just can't handle the load he could have. So that's kind of a cheaper option where I think you can easily send Amari Cooper maybe for Dowdle straight up. Just take, the cheapest option that you have in your wide receiver room. Go get Dowdle and just fortify a weak RB.
That's a good call.
McKinney, I don't know what this means. Williams, I don't know what we're talking about, Aaron. You can tell me later. Flex Trey Sermon or Michael Pittman Jr. contingent on who plays. What do we like?
Good luck with Trey Sermon. He's not a good running back. You got to counter like we did this with Cam Akers, where it's a volume play, and I get it, the matchup and everything. If it's Joe Flacco, give me Pittman all day, every day. If it's Anthony Richardson, it's a conversation. You're not going to get any pass catching work though from Sermon. It's strictly got to be touchdowns. How you got to get there. So I think Pittman's just a safer in this scenario. To tell the truth.
I think that the quarterback does change it though, right? Because if Richardson's there, they have to take in consideration of him running the ball, so maybe it opens up a little bit more opportunities for Sherman there. But at the same time, if Richardson's there, I'm not in on Pittman there as well. Like I think that whoever starts at quarterback determines if you're playing Sherman with Richardson, Pittman with Flacco.
Yep, totally agree with that take. I will say with Trey Sermon going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, both of these guys, they are not scary at all, giving up a ton of points to pretty much every position except for tight end. Doesn't matter. The Colts don't have tight ends to throw to or tight ends you want for fantasy. So everyone should eat in this game regardless. So agree. If you have the thrower of the football in Flacco, you go Pittman. Otherwise, it's Sermon. Kyler or Dak this week, they play each other? No. Who do they play?
Dak's with Pittsburgh. At home,
close.
Kyler's at San Fran.
It's Kyler because he's scrambles.
Yeah, this is a rough one.
Thing. Yeah, like I thought it's bad matchups. I'm just taking the scrambler, and that's Kyler. Like he's continually scrambles. I know he has it. Like it's kind of been up and down a little bit, but I feel like the upside and ceiling, like the floor and ceiling, are both higher with Kyler this week.
I think this could be the big game for Dak. At home Sunday night against Pittsburgh, him and CD could eat here. Maybe Jake Ferguson has a touchdown too. I think I'm gonna take Dak slightly here. Let me check my rankings, but I think I want to take Dak.
Yeah. As you check your rankings, I have Kyler 11 and Dak 15. Dak between Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams. So that just shows you how down on Dak I am this week. Not in general, just this week. That said, this is a lot closer than I think it should be. Kyler off a down week. I'll go Kyler, but I'm not happy with it.
I have Kyler at 12 and Dak I had him at 15, but that's with Richardson playing at 14. So if Richardson's not there, Dak's 14. So yeah, it's right there. So flip a coin.
So Kyler, flip a coin. I totally agree. Let's start with USC. Wan'Dale, Wicks, or Achane in the flex.
Give me Wicks, baby. Wicks is the man. I'm all on Wicks. Wan'Dale, don't get me wrong, I like. But I'm not starting him this week because this is going to be the week we see, is Wan'Dale legit or is it because Neighbors is on the field with him, right? So I don't want to pay attention. I'm paying attention to it, but I'm not paying attention to it on my fantasy teams. I'm not taking that risk. Achane, nice. I get it. He's going to get it. But, man, Wicks is the guy there. They're using him in the offense. We just heard Romeo Doubs hasn't been attending practice on Thursday and Friday just because he's not getting the targets. He's just said, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead, cry a river. But Wicks is the guy there with Jaden Reed there. So I'm confident. I'm starting Wicks in my wide receiver slot. So, I mean, who's the other wide receivers there for you that you're flexing? Because Wicks is a start for me.
Yeah, in the flex, you want to chase the ceiling shot. So, like, you could talk yourself in the Achane because he only needs one play. But Wicks and Achane are very similar bets. They're both super efficient. Well, Achane not this year. But they're, like, super efficient. Like, when they get the volume, they're really productive. Like, you want the ceiling shot, just chase it with Wicks. I'm fine with it. I think you can go Wan'Dale is more of, like, the safe flex play this week. But, yeah, I'm going to shoot the moon with Wicks in the flex.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. I have these next guys, back-to-back in my rankings. Who do you want to start this week? Let's say this week and then for the rest of the season or dynasty value, Zay Flowers or Tyreek Hill. What are you doing?
I mean, I have Zay Flowers because it's really in this week. I'll say Zay Flowers, but I don't feel good about it at all. That offense has shifted in what they're doing, and they're just playing bully smash mouth football. Where like Flowers is low ADOT, he's not really doing much with it. They are just streamlined Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. The tight ends are freaking useless. Charlie Cole's on the field a lot blocking. So, like, I'll take Hill for the long-term rest of the season because there's upside if Tua comes back. Like, I'm just curious, like, can Flowers get to the top 12 wide receivers? I don't see a path for him to get there. Probably. And then there's also the impending trade of potentially Devontae Adams coming down. If that happens, like, that's just a good night shot for Zay Flowers. So, yeah, I'll say Tyreek Hill in just pretty much all formats. It sucks.
I have Flowers over him this week. I have Flowers at 18, Hill at 22. So with that Flowers, rest of season, I think you need to take Hill, man. I just don't. With Derrick Henry there, they're already a pure running team, but with Derrick Henry there, they're just automatic. They just want to run the ball. So you're not getting that volume as you would like with Flowers. With Hill, I know the quarterback is the issue. But even then, I mean, Hill's a buy low at this point, right? Because of the quarterback. If you could get him on the low because of his age, because of the bad quarterback play, go ahead and go get him. So rest of the season, I think you're going Hill too.
Yep. And I agree. Hill for me this week in the future. All right. So quick look at this lineup. 8-man league, so take that into consideration. We have Kyler or Dak, depending on what happens. Mason, Henry, Marvin, Debo, Connor, Wicks, or Wandale, or Achane bench. So really good. And then you got worthy downs. You got upside shots on the bench. The question is, what moves do you make? Was thinking trade either Kyler or Dak with Achane for a wide receiver. If you are packaging, let's say Kyler and Achane, who were you trying to go after at wide receiver?
So this is an 8-man league, which means every team's stacked, and it's incredibly hard to get the studs. Like if you're shooting for the Alvin Kamara and those guys, it's basically impossible. They're not going to trade to you because they're such an impactful player. Like, so I get it, yes, and I would shoot the moon for like a high end, but you already have Puka on the bench. He's like your high end shot, like the ceiling shot on the IR. I don't mind it. Like I don't mind writing this team out, but like the wide receiver room, I'm a little bit worried about it because like outside of like Debo and Marvin, there's really not much there for an 8-team league. So yeah, that's what I would package. I would package for like a very good wide receiver. Let me look at my rankings real quick on a stall so you can.
You're talking about who to package. If you can package, I mean, looking at the team, package Dak if you can, in Achane, and throw in JMO and go get Marvin Harrison. Oh, you have Marvin, so so you're already good there. So then
Evans,
DK.
Yeah, but I don't think. I'm assuming this is super flex in an 8-man, so I don't know if you want to give up one of these quarterbacks for Evans or that, right? So
is it super flex? That would change my
yeah, he is.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, so I mean, this is real. I don't want to pair a quarterback with it. I mean, single QB, I guess you can, right? So Dak and Achane, I mean, go out there and get, if you can throw in maybe, Worthy as well and get Neighbors. I wouldn't be mad at that, right? Try to do something like that.
If you can get Neighbors, hell yeah. Do whatever it takes to get Neighbors. You know what I'm saying?
What about something like Chris Olave?
Yeah, I think you can buy. I don't even think you really need a package. Like Olave's just been a disaster, right? Like he hasn't been. So you could sell Achane and probably something smaller of one of your bench players to get him. I think he's like a good buy.
Do like Achane and Wandale for Olave.
It's the expected points, not like the guys that taunt us, the Amari Coopers of the world. This is what Chris Olave is doing. So yeah, I'm with you. I think you need Chris Olave.
Professional segues only. Jamie, we love you, Jamie. Rashid or Sutton this week? Who do we want?
Rashid.
Yeah.
I've been pounding the table for Sutton. I think Sutton's like the guy that gives you the high floor. The ceiling is a little bit TBD, that offense. I don't mind Sutton. I think he's going to play well against the Raiders. I think it's a good matchup for him. But like the upside in this offense, if we're expecting the Cowboys to produce fantasy-wise, we're going to need the Saints to do the same thing, right? So like Rashid's been just high impact. His target share, yards per route run, his air yard share, it's all 30+%. It's really good. So yeah, I'm chasing Rashid this week.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I have Rashid at 28 and Sutton at 32. So I'm taking Rashid.
Yep, I'm saying 28 and 33. The real issue is Rashid Shaheed has proven, even though he's going against a Kansas City defense, he's proven not only can he beat you deep, but he can beat you in the intermediate areas of the field. They can run some stuff short to him as well. Taysom Hill is out for this one. That impacts everything. That impacts everything. If he's not stealing 3 touchdowns a game, you can assign those touchdowns elsewhere. I love Rashid Shaheed, and Sutton is unfortunately more of a floor play than a ceiling play. Go for the ceiling, Jamie. And we appreciate the hell out of you. Thanks for showing up time and again. Myers is facing Surtain or Dortch versus the 49ers. I think you got to go Dortch, sadly. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, they can move him around a little bit, I think, is the key, because it's like him and Trey Tucker. That's it outside of Buckbauer. So yeah, it's just a rough week to start Myers. So you chase it with Dortch, but his floor is like 0, man. Like if I'm dealing with 2 guys where the floor is 0, like I was debating Dortch and Michael Wilson this week, wherein like somebody was asking me that question, and I was like Michael Wilson because he's running the snaps and stuff. But like, yeah, if you want to do it with Dortch, but I'm terrified of it. I think both these guys have no floor and like a ceiling of kind of like 10, 15 points maybe. So I guess Dortch, but I don't feel good about that answer at all. Where you at?
If certain is on Myers, you're starting Trey Tucker. That's money move right there for Trey Tucker. Dortch, I like it though, but I think you have to try to go with Myers here because Dortz, I mean, with McBride back in there, you still have Michael Wilson, you have Marvin Harrison. He's just slipping down the receiving room there. So Myers probably the safer bet, even against Surtain because Surtain can be asked to move around, and cover Tucker as well. So I think you have reason to go Myers here.
Yeah. And I was super high on Michael Wilson last week. The process was right. He got 7 targets, but he only converted that for 3 for 38 against a Washington secondary that is putrid, but the Cardinals were putrid-er. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. MHJ. So first, let's talk about the last bit here. MHJ or Jaden Reed rest of season. Who do you like?
For me, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. Jaden Reed's a guy where his expected role is well below what he's similar to Deebo Samuel, consistently out produces his role for fantasy, and that's why he gets compared to Deebo Samuel. I get it, but Reed's a top 7 wide receiver for me this week, so I don't mind going Reed this week. The rest of the season, I'm still gonna take Marvin Harrison Jr. His role is awesome, and the usage it just needs to click for him. So I don't know if you're necessarily selling Marvin Harrison Jr. or high. I think you're more selling Jaden Reed high at this point. If you're flipping him into Marvin Harrison Jr. is the way I would go. Because he's playing out of control. And it doesn't seem sustainable. He's 9 points over expected per week. It's out of control how he's playing.
Yeah, I think, I'd take Marvin Harrison, but then also, would you sell high on Marvin? I think you sell high on Jaden Reed. I think that makes the better sense to try to do that because of what it is. And as we mentioned right now, Wicks is getting more volume as the season's progression, and he looks like he's a solid wide receiver for them as well. Reed's nice too, but we know Marvin Harrison is the one, regardless of what it is. Reed, we talk about him as the one, but it could end up being Wicks, down the line. So I think the better question is to sell. Would you sell Reed sell high? I would say yes.
If I can move him to elite assets, that's the only way I do it.
What?
Screw these guys. Screw you, Caleb, for asking such a good question. All right. I'm going Jaden Reed rest of season. I cannot get off this man. Look, the big issue for me, if you're betting on talent, Marvin Harrison is the talent, but I'm betting on Matt LaFleur, right? Offensive mind there over in Green Bay. And I'm betting on quarterback and Jordan Love well over Kyler Murray. He's just going to keep feeding Jaden Reed. Marvin Harrison Jr., great talent, still year 1, still going to be good, still year 1. I'm going Jaden Reed. It's very, very close.
He's awesome.
Moving on. Are you playing Rhamondre, Chase, or Rico in full PPR?
Okay, so Rhamondre, right? You could talk yourself into Rhamondre if you really wanted to. I will say Chase Brown was splitting more work last week, but I think that is more a fact they played the Panthers, where I don't expect them to just unleash Chase Brown like they did. Zach Moss still has all the passing down, and basically he's protecting Joe Burrow when they need to pass, they're putting him in that position. So I'm a little bit bearish on Chase Brown. Don't make me go Rico against Pittsburgh. That sounds awful. It does. I was just Rhamondre, and I'm gonna hate my life. This is what it is. Just next question, please get me out.
I think I'm going Chase Brown, man. This is it's just I don't know. I don't like the running backs in Dallas. Rhamondre, I haven't been satisfied. Chase Brown has the best upside, I think. So I go Brown.
Yeah, if Rhamondre is starting this game and didn't have any of those issues, I think you play Rhamondre here. It's Chase Brown for me as well. We're going to go a little bit faster through these next few. This is George Player 1. He says start 2 receivers and a flex. You see the options here. Which 2 receivers are you starting? And then who are you putting in the flex? Let's start with SC first.
So 2 receivers and a flex. So I am starting Brian Thomas. I am starting Amari Cooper. Or DJ Moore and Amari, I think you just go with the top guys there. JSS dice, but he's had down weeks, he's had up weeks. I like it. I'm not in on Keon Coleman, and then Trey Sermon. Yeah, you gotta wait to see what it's gonna be. So Amari Cooper against Washington, that should be a heavy start. Brian Thomas against Indy, that should be great as well. DJ Moore is playing who? Carolina. Yeah, so you just start those 3. Don't overthink it. DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Brian Thomas.
It's the first
shocking Brian Thomas from SC. I'll be shocked when Jesse goes Brian Thomas as well.
Yeah, it's the first 3 wide receivers. Just bank them and just go move from that. JSN still needs to show a little bit more to join those guys, which is kind of crazy, but that's where we're at with Brian Thomas. Yep,
love JSN. I agree. I would debate DJ Moore or JSN, but that matchup is just too sweet. Also, George Play wants to know, should he trade Jordan Mason for Kyron or
Yes.
Achane? Which do you prefer?
Kyron, his best role in the NFL. Like, even how bad their offense has been, it shows you how valuable Kyron is to them. Their offense is going to get better. Kyron still, his role is awesome. So if you can move Mason, who's at some point CMC's coming back, I don't know when it's going to be. Into Kyron, it's just a much safer bet. So yeah, I'll take Kyron.
Yeah, I agree as well. Mason, it's good, man, but we know San Fran just plugs in their running backs, right? So if Mason goes down, we're going to be talking about Garando. If CMC comes back, we're not going to be talking about Mason. So go ahead and get Kyron. I get Achane, I get the explosiveness. We were all high on him before it, man, but without Tua as the quarterback, the offense as a whole just takes a dip. That includes every player on there. So go ahead and go get Kyron.
Yep. And Kyron, the last 2 weeks, RB2 and RB12 and half PPR without those two top options at wide receiver. So you got to love Kyron Williams. Let's go quickly. Traded Rice and Dell for Xavier Worthy. 0-4 needs the upside shot of Rice. Jumping the gun, but he's kind of counting on a big day from Worthy without Rice in there. What are you guys thinking here?
I get it. I understand the thought process behind it, but you're just giving up a lot, particularly this is dynasties or keeper league. Like, that one worries me just because Dell is Worthy and kind of in a similar boat. It's just Dell's offense is just much, much better right now. So I don't like it, but I understand the thought process. You're 0-4, you got to make a move. And your wide receiver room is very nice with Deontay Johnson, Puka,
plus Ayuk.
Yeah, that's a stacked wide receiver. I would go try to find some running backs to pair with those wide receivers personally.
Yeah, true. SC?
It's not a bad move, because Worthy, we could see him, fill into a role. There really is not solid receivers outside Kelsey now, right, with Rice there. So maybe Worthy's a guy. Hollywood, I believe is supposed to come back as well. So that's something to consider there, which could either open up for Worthy or take heavy amount of targets away from him. So you have to think about that. I probably would have tried to get rid of Puka instead of Rice, but I get it.
Yep. Has Mason, CMC, and Kyron. We'll see with CMC, but you still need to bolster that room. We'll have to see. We'll see what happens with CMC.
Kyron for Achane? Yeah. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. It's a tough one. But appreciate the question. Moving on, Jackson is currently 3-1. He's got these guys. He was offered those guys. Would you trade Godwin and McLaurin right now for Diggs and Ayuk?
No. Wait.
No.
I'm going to have Godwin and McLaurin,
yeah,
and you're getting Diggs and Ayuk.
I think it's a fair trade, but I prefer Godwin and McLaurin. I like the upside of McLaurin compared to Diggs' upside. That's just the difference between the two.
It's one of those lateral moves. It doesn't necessarily make you better. It doesn't hurt you, but it doesn't help you either way. I think you're just moving a 1-for-1, really. So it's not something crazy. I mean, I would do McLaurin for Diggs maybe, but I wouldn't necessarily do the combo of both for him. So
yep, and totally agree. And low key, I love this wide receiver room for later in the season. So keep riding it at 3-1. You're in good shape. Start 2 from Jamie. BTJ, we know he's on the list. Amari, Deontay, Olave. Who are you starting out of those 4?
Yeah, to be honest, hold on. Go ahead, Jesse.
Deontay and BTJ. The next question, we ride, baby. Let's go. Even though there's some really good matchups, but Deontay's expected usage is out of freaking control. You got to play Deontay. He's been the top wide receiver in fantasy with freaking Red Rifle. So yeah, Deontay and BTJ for me this week. I love the matchup.
So surprise, Jeremy. I'm gonna go Deontay and Cooper. I mean, the matchup is there. I know Judy is. I like Judy too, but the matchup against Washington, man, that secondary is atrocious. Yes. I do like Brian Thomas. I have Cooper at 11, Deontay at 12, Olave at 13, Thomas at 16. So those are what I would go. Nico and Debo are locked in top 5 for me. That's fair for them. So yeah, I would go Cooper and Deontay, man, with this one. I flip a coin.
I wish this quarterback is not freaking Deshaun Watson, man. That's my only concern.
That's true.
Agree, but I don't want my quarterback to be Trevor Lawrence either. I am the Brian Thomas hater of this group. I have him at 24 this week.
Get out.
2 top 12 wide receivers, Amari at 9, Deontay Johnson at 12 this week. That's who you got to fire up. Good luck. Nico and Debo are locked in. Keep them locked in, Jamie. We appreciate you. One more question here before we get out of here. Full PPR. Pick 2 running backs and a flex Hunt, Sermon, Tracy, Worthy, and Sutton.
Oh my goodness. This is like the land of the lost, but I like it. I actually like a lot of these guys for you. So I'm playing Sutton as my flex. And your RB2, I'm actually going to roll. I know Jeremy's not going to like this answer. I'm taking Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah.
Oh, pick my RB2. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was pick two RBs, but yeah. So yeah, Tracy, man, ride it. We're on the Tracy train, going in. This is his shot. Singletary's out. Let's ride it. Let's see what he does. I get Sherman. Again, maybe if Richardson's playing, I can argue Sherman. I want to sell Hunt if I have him. I'm not buying into this. I don't sell him. He's on a good offense. Go ahead and get something valuable out of him. And then Wardy too. I like it, but I'll go Tracy and Wardy. Actually, I think Tracy and Wardy. I like Sutton, but just with the offense and what they're doing, some days it's Sutton, then the next day they don't do much, so I don't really know what to expect in this offense. So Tracy and Wardy and shoot for the moon, man.
Yeah, I'll go Sutton. I don't like it over Worthy, but I will flex him. Trey Sermon's my RB14 this week. So go ahead and go Trey Sermon behind that Colts offensive line. They are star makers at the running back position. Quick thoughts real quick about trades. Do we want to share any trades that we've done recently? I'll share mine because Garrett Wilson was brought up. This morning, I managed to get Garrett Wilson. I traded T. Higgins and Isaiah Pacheco to a rebuilding team. I like the deal. I'm happy with it. What are you guys thinking about getting Garrett Wilson for the second half and beyond for T and Pacheco?
I think that's a good deal.
You got Garrett Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to package up from T, because as much as we like T, he's limited as far as the ceiling because he's a wide receiver too in that offense. Pacheco, I don't know when he's coming back and how that's going to go, but that's a serious injury, and we need to have the conversation about letting not hold him out until playoffs. Like that's entirely possible. So I'm fine using the allure of Pacheco. By the way, he in Dynasty, I tried to trade Derrick Henry once Pacheco went down for Pacheco, and they declined me, and I was like, well, all right, cool, I'll just roll Derrick Henry. But yeah, so I like that move for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great move. I would take. I know we talked about Garrett Wilson earlier, but yeah, I think you can go ahead and get that as well. Pacheco, injuries hurt, man. We never know what people come back after injuries, so he may have seen his glory days already. So go ahead and do something for that. I'm trying to look at
day 3
while you guys look for your next one. I also traded in that same league 2/4 for Jalen Tolbert. Let's go. Brandon Cook's out a few weeks. Why not have a wide receiver 8 in Jalen Tolbert for a couple of fourths? He's too cheap, so go for it.
Yeah, I like it.
This is a trade I'm considering, so it hasn't been accepted yet, but would you do Will Levis, Jonathan Brooks, and Odunze, or Geno Smith, Barkley, and AJ Brown?
I don't mind giving up Will Levis at all.
And Odunze. And Brooks. Those two your boys, Jesse. And Will
Brooks
Levis.
You're asking
who are you getting? Who are you getting?
I'm getting Geno, Barkley, and AJ Brown.
Yeah, do that. Trade them immediately. Yeah, get the package. Get that second.
I'm assuming you're a contender, right?
Yeah, try to compete.
Yeah, I don't mind that. You're getting AJ Brown.
Love it.
That's the key. So Barkley is treacherous with the age cliff and all that stuff. AJ Brown, people still love AJ Brown, so I'm fine doing that because you're getting Geno. Is it super flex too?
Yes.
Yeah, Geno's a massive upgraded quarterback.
I'd add a second on top of that if you had to get
the thing you got is you have the allure of age and the youthfulness on your side with those two skill position players that people absolutely love. Odunze has done limited, he's dealing with injury. Brooks is going to come back and he's going to smash. So that's something you have to be okay doing with. If this is for a rebuild, it makes perfect sense to just do this type of deal for both of you guys.
So this was a league where last year I just didn't do well, but now I'm competing now. So it's all right, Odunze's there. My quarterbacks are CJ Stroud, Lawrence. I have a stacked roster there. So it's all right, how can I make stronger? I have Brian Thomas. I have Garrett Wilson. Have Chuba even. So, it's all right, I can get there. My worry is the age, but I know AJB is going to ball out when he gets back. So.
He's going to produce. We did the TBD with Odunze, and Geno Smith is massive upgrade over
Geno,
and he's gonna you're just start him over Trevor Lawrence it is.
Yeah,
so I'm fine with that.
Jesse, you got a deal?
I got one. This is a 10-team Superflex tight end premium league. I traded away Mark Andrews, Rashee Rice in a second, and I got back David Njoku. I'm super high on the ghost of Nick Chubb. We'll see how that works out, and Jeremy's guy Jaden Reed. So contending team. And I was like, yeah, I'm all aboard the Jaden Reed
Okay.
train. I know we talked about like selling high on redraft. I think he's really good. Everything he does is just awesome. So like, if you can get that guy in that type of deal for Rashee Rice on a contender, on the flip side of rebuild, I think it's perfect. So yeah, I'm all aboard that.
Wait, you're contending or you're not contending?
Oh yeah, I'm the number 1 seed, and I'm just like boosting the team a little.
So yeah, so you traded Mark Andrews and Rashee Rice in a second. Is that right?
Yep. Got back David Njoku,
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, and Jaden Reed.
Yeah, money.
Jaden Reed. Yeah,
that's money. Rice out for the season. That's money. Yeah, for sure.
That team's like completely rebuilding. They're like 0-8, so it's like it's a perfect difference.
Yeah, they should have bought Mark Andrews if they're rebuilding. That doesn't make sense. Like Mark Andrews.
Well, he's not gonna give him any points. Like,
yeah,
sure. You know what I'm saying? It's just
for sure.
I think he likes Mark Andrews too.
Yeah, could hold value as well. I mean, it's 29, but 29 is not the death knell for tight ends. That's for sure.
Right.
Well, you hope anyway. We got a couple more that just jumped in, so let's do these real quick, and then we will sign off. Jacob says, "Oh, we did this, so sorry. Just one more. Lovely little question here, Rhamondre or H-Chan. Who do you want this week?
We don't know Stevenson this week. It sounds super sketch, and I think Achane can at least give you the upside. So I'll play, even though this is a gross game and I don't want to play the running back. I'm taking Achane, man. He's just a better running back, dude. I'm just gonna play him.
Achane.
Yeah,
I mean,
Achane.
Just don't. I don't even like it, but yeah.
Yeah. It should be Rhamondre. It should easily be Rhamondre. You're just hoping that these guys, Achane, Hill, even Waddle, if you're forced into starting them, you're hoping that they break a big one. But Jamie brings up an awesome point. OBJ has been activated. What's his value in the toilet, especially without a viable quarterback? He is a nothing burger. Do you guys want anything to do with OBJ rest of season?
He gives them a third NFL wide receiver. Woohoo, they got 3 now. They got 3 NFL wide receivers on the roster. Good job. Well done, Dolphins. Yeah, it's whatever.
Just go into your chat, Jamie. Put Odell Beckham activated and try to trade him because of that quote.
You got to post old Giants clips and be like, Odell still at his peak. And,
there you go. Where's that? Right there.
One-handed catch. Listen, Jamie's a smart guy. He's always trying to suck all the value, out of fantasy, like Odell Beckham, and also like listening to us. We appreciate the hell out of you, Jamie. So if, like Jamie, you appreciate the hell out of us, please hit the like button, subscribe, share us with your entire network. We are on Twitter. We are at fantasyfootballuniverse.com. We are over on TikTok, on Instagram. We're on YouTube, most importantly, which is probably where you're finding us. We really hope you have a great weekend. Please tune in tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Aaron and I will be here for the early games. I'm in Amsterdam, so that's easy for me. Aaron's waking up early. These guys will still be asleep because it'll be 5:30 in the morning. So don't count on them to show up for that. But we'll be back again when the games start at 4:30? 4:30 Eastern. Are we doing 90 minutes before the games again? I think we are. So show up for our start-sit show 90 minutes before kickoff, regular kickoff. That's 4:30 Eastern to make sure that you get all of your start-sit questions answered. Guys, anything last minute before we end it?
No.
Enjoy some college football. There's some good games on. Get ready for your future dynasty assets.
That is it. So for these two guys, I am Jeremy. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time. If I can figure out how to do the outro, I got it.